Hey, what's keeping you up so late? Got something on your mind? Let's talk about it. My name is Coffee Dark and Sweet, and you are now tuned in to the Midnight Coffee Podcast. Here, have a sip. What up, though? My name is Coffee Dark and Sweet, and you are listening to an episode of Midnight Coffee Podcast. I'm here with two very beautiful women, Leah Edison and Robin Shear, and we are here to have a conversation about grace, entitled "Grace Yourself." Grace Yourself it's like a moniker that I kind of came up with in the what am I trying to say? The effort of like fortifying my mind and building that resilience, because when you brace yourself, even like doctors and scientists will tell you, when you are approaching an impact, if you brace yourself, like tighten up and become stiff and rigid, you are more likely to create more brain damage and break more bones. But grace is a sort of acceptance that allows you to understand that the collision is inevitable, so you can kind of relax in the idea that you are about to be collided with, and so you receive kind of less injury that way. So in processing, hindsight is 2020, and processing like a lot of what I went through and a lot of what I might have to go through to kind of get to where I'm going, I'm like, grace yourself. Like, don't brace yourself, grace yourself, because it's not gonna. Trials don't just disappear. So that's the gist of the conversation for today. And I'm here, like I said, with Leah Edison, who can introduce herself.
Hello, audience. I am a good close friend of this beautiful, intelligent soul next to me. Longtime friend of
Shit. Elementary school?
yeah, back then. But yeah, this is my first time on her podcast, and I'm really so eager, and I am overwhelmed with just joy, honestly, to be.
What is joy? Like, in your own words, what is joy?
Can I describe it to you?
Yes, please.
The whole inside is just up. Just it's just up, like there's no feeling, no matter how you was feeling before you came, when you know you somewhere you're supposed to be, no matter the degree, it's always a
bars
enlightenment. It feels good.
Light.
Yeah.
Light and like light.
Like a feather.
I feel you. Yeah, it's the bars. I felt all of that. That was beautiful. And last but not least, the beautiful Miss Robin Shear. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, goodness. So, Coffee Dark and Sweet and I met about a month ago, a little more than a month ago. We were both speakers, performers at TEDx Detroit. And we had some beautiful moments backstage before, during, and after. And so I was just super excited to connect with you and just to be in your presence. I have played your piece a few times. I don't know if you're aware of that, but
I'm not.
Yeah, I loved your poetry. I loved the way that you delivered it. I loved just the heart behind it. And when you asked me to come on your show, it was just such an easy yes. I could hardly wait. So.
Yeah, and Robin Shear, like she said, we met at TEDx, and you were one of the like anchors for me in that process. It's like you could feel it on me. You walk right up to me, and you were like, "Hey, how you feeling?" I'm like, "Shit." How'd I get here?
You said that like legit, like verbatim.
Something like that.
No, verbatim. You said that.
He was there.
I'm about to poop.
Let's just go there. We got the snorting and the pooping.
No, it was intense. I was so nervous. I remember, and I was literally like, I felt like, oh shit.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it was crazy. The largest audience I've ever had, and like, you were just like a warm kind of, angelic kind of presence. Like, hey, you know why you feel like that? I'm like, why? You're like, 'cause it's important to you. I'm like, yeah. Yes.
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 And yay for having something
That
that
is
you
so
care about.
important.
Yay.
Yes.
How awesome is that to celebrate, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I appreciated you being an anchor. And then, like I said, when I actually listened to your talk, like I was so taken aback considering, like, you know, we have two very different visual and cultural representations.
Yep.
And for us to have a story that was so almost identical, like your book title, Messy Joy, that's the same thing. I feel like that's like literally another way to say grace yourself. Like, it's not always going to be pretty, and it's not always going to be, you know, everybody has this goal of like happiness, which is like unattainable in my opinion, because happiness is like every other emotion. It's fleeting,
Yep.
right? But
Yep.
joy and grace are states of being
You're right.
that you can experience throughout no matter what emotion you may be feeling. You know what I'm saying? So just that worthy reflection, you never know where they're going to show up. You know what I'm saying? So I was so grateful I met you, and I felt like, you know, sister.
We
Like-
were meant to meet. I knew it from the start. I knew that we were meant to meet.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember when you girls were backstage and we had those conversations, and it's not that I wasn't feeling the nervousness, but I don't know. I just felt like we needed to have that conversation.
anchors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were all in such a unique setting, and I don't think we'll ever experience anything like that again.
No.
You know? It was
I
incredible.
Yes, it literally was. I was saying, like, it was like they pumped happiness in the air or something. It was impossible to walk through there without feeling happy. I was like, oh my God. And then to be surrounded by so many people that I actually knew. And then for the people that I didn't know, to be kind and, you know, courteous. And then be so, like, it was scary to me doing a piece like the one that I did. Like you said, I mentioned God. I mentioned a lot of like old folktale kind of, you know, household ritual things. And it was, what was amazing to me and what God really showed me is that we all kind of had the same experience. And it was across borders, like having people from all these different cultural and ethnic identities relate to me and say it to me in real time. Like, oh my God, I was almost in tears. I'm looking at them like, how do you even understand that? You know what I'm saying?
But they did.
But God.
But God. Period.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
How was it for you? Leah was there with me, ride or die. We was at the TEDx. You know what I'm saying? She did my hair for that event. I was looking real cute. Yes, we did it. We did it.
We did. On the TEDx talk, wow. An experience for the both of us, because we both walked in there looking like a newborn's fresh out the womb, making eye contact with the light, looking like, whoa, we okay, she here, okay. Now, and then I remember, Robin, the first thing you said was, you're going to need somebody here to let you know you got lipstick on your teeth. And I said,
yes.
I said, let me see, do you have lipstick?
You wouldn't even think about that. You just
I
like,
wasn't. I said, oh no, does she have lipstick on? But she had it, but no, though. But Robin was such a natural with it, though. She held her, though, and made sure she knew that this was where you
random
guys were
friends
supposed to be. Yeah, like, so she made it comfortable and an easy transition for us to really grasp
the gravity of where we
together.
were.
Yeah, it was just so, and we sat most of the whole day
and just enjoyed. I was,
You couldn't have left there you couldn't have left there with your mind on not anything. Like, you had to been thinking like 3 things at once. Like, hold on, wait a minit.
Because the AI is coming to get us.
They really coming.
They went from, it's safe, it's not a problem, to be very afraid.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. They're coming to get us.
Man. Yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah. I'm so glad I had y'all two there. Like I said, random friends. And Sean himself, like, he put together the visual behind me. So it was like present or not present. It was like a whole, being a person who has felt like an island for so long, and then having like a random family and just kind of pop, you know. Crazy.
We're not meant to be islands.
No, we are really, really not. And that's something that the pandemic kind of did, accentuated, you know, this island feeling, this callousness, and, you know, this dissociation from humanity and each other. And it's really affecting the way that, like, we interact with each other, especially those of us who grew up more closely tangible to electronics and the media and social media and these kind of things. Like, so it was like readily available to us by the time we were And I literally turned this off.
It's not my phone, is it?
I'm like, everybody turn their phones off.
She the
And I
first
think I
one to
turned
say that,
mine
too.
on instead of, because it was already off.
Snorting.
But yeah, it's definitely creating rifts and barriers in the way that we connect and communicate with each other. It's getting to the point now where people are almost afraid to talk to each other outside of social media. And so to have people that just like represent a specific type of closeness that, you know, doesn't necessarily, that can exist in any space and still feel like a hug. You know what I'm saying? That don't have to be like, you know, even though we did hug, I think when we first met, like,
I think
you
so
know,
too.
you don't really have to embrace everybody for them to feel like a
Your
hug.
presence, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we definitely need to get back to physical touch. It's necessary for our survival.
It is. We're created for relationships.
And we come from like tribes and tents and caves and those kind of things.
Yep.
So it's like, that's how we stayed alive. Closeness to each other.
It's all about the pack.
Yeah. And people are losing that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's so much richness and rediscovering that
Yes.
and feeling it again. You're like, oh my gosh, this is why, you know, why we're here. I want more of that.
Yeah. It feels great.
Yeah.
So I was getting into your book. One of the favorite parts for me was when you were talking about your daughter trying on her wedding dress. I have
make me
like
cry right out of
3
the gate.
daughters now, so I'm like, eventually I will have to experience that. And I was just like so living in it with you, like I can't imagine, you know.
It was like living a dream. Yeah. And I don't know if I wrote this in the book, but she had purchased a wedding dress. Yeah, I did. I put this in the book. So she found this really great little bridal shop where the dresses are donated and the people who work there volunteer, and all of the money that is raised goes toward cancer research. And so she wanted to shop there, and she bought a dress real quick, and it really wasn't her dress. But she was just caught up in the excitement of giving. So she was going to settle, and I kept saying, honey, like, this is it. This is your shot. You know, you have this vision. Aren't you, don't you want to just try? Let's just go. Let's just try on some dresses. And she had this one she had saved, you know, she had like a Pinterest, and she found the designer and whatnot. So we tracked down somebody actually in the Detroit area that had that dress. So we drove out, you know, we made this appointment, just the two of us, no bridesmaids, no grandparents, just the two of us girls. And we get in there, and they had that dress, but it wasn't her size at all. And so they clipped it, you know, they had like all these things on the back, and it was pretty, but it wasn't the one, even though she thought that's why we were there. And she tried on all these other dresses and stuff, and they were really pretty, and all those sales girls were like, "Aw." But when she walked out with her dress, you could have heard a pin drop. I started crying immediately. She just came out. She was like floating. She just floated out, and everybody just stared at her. It was like, that's why we're here. It was incredible.
That's beautiful.
She deserved it.
That's kind of you telling the story of her picking out her wedding dress, which is funny because to me that sounds like the story of us trying to find like compatible love, like literally, you know what I'm saying? We try on these dresses and we make these lists and we do all this research and we think this is the one, this is how it has to be, and blah 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 blah, and we interfere with what is divine, you know, what is really supposed to happen. But that's why we need each other, because you were there to say, hey, I don't care what you bought, let's go and find what's for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That doesn't make the other dress any less valuable, but it's not for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure we all can. I'm sure you can think of a time where you was indulging in something or someone that was like not for you, but you was like, but I invested in this.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be mine. Yeah. You know.
Do you want to share?
She like, no, I agree with you.
Well, yeah, in a adult aspect, yeah.
Yeah,
I
or
definitely-
any aspect.
as far as giving the kids to people, you know, having kids with babies. I mean, having kids,
But facts. No, don't change that.
having kids with babies, you definitely, and you give so much, and then for you to be like, I poured so much into this, it has to work, it must work, all while you're unhappy, you're not at peace, you're miserable. You know what I'm saying? Just because I built this, but let me just go on and maybe be that island I need to be.
Sometimes what people don't understand is the people that are closest to you influence you the most.
They do.
That's why I like spending a lot of time with my kids.
Hopefully you like your kids, right?
Yeah. I make an effort to like them.
Yeah.
we got to,
Well,
but if you, the people you spend the most time with directly influence you. So it's important. Sometimes you have to, I've been in situations for sure where the noise had to be cut out so I could hear the voice of God, or I could even hear my own consciousness. You know what I'm saying? Darkness, you know what I'm saying? Like no media, I'd put my phone, let it die. You know what I'm saying? Just like not talking to nobody, not going nowhere, just like, and I'm telling you, the acute sense of hearing that came out of silence. Like, sometimes we do need to be the island, but that is not how we are made to be. I feel like the only time you need to be an island is if the land you on is like not bingo. And I said this last time, I'll say it again. Kanye West said it best. If you're around the wrong people who treat you like they don't know who you are, eventually you forget who you are. You do. Yep. And it's in that mess, and sometimes in that solitude, in that, collision, that we find things like grace and joy. Like what is the like most original experience you can think of, like as far as it comes to like, oh, this is joy, like when you recognize like, oh, this is what joy is, like this is what I'm feeling right now.
That's such a good question. As a speaker, I get to be with a lot of groups of people, and every time I speak, I ask that question, like, what is joy to you? And everyone has a different understanding, and I think that's really beautiful. And there's some crossover, of course, but I think what's important is we know on a personal level what it means, and it might not be the same definition that anyone else has. And yet, like, when we've achieved it, we know that we've gotten there. We've defined it, we've arrived, we're good. But it's a matter of like slowing down the train long enough to think about what it even means. Like for me, joy, the definition has kind of changed over time. My understanding has changed. The more I think about it and the more I talk to people, the more I understand it. But I feel like for me, it's the thing that fills me up and makes me feel the most whole. I feel like I'm living the life I'm supposed to be living. I'm so full. It's a fullness for me. I've heard a lot of people describe it as a lightness, like we were saying earlier. You feel like you could dance and fly. You feel like you're lighter than air. And there's just so many ways that you can experience it. But I feel like when I'm really in a place of joy, I just feel like I am the person that God created me to be in its fullest form.
I feel that. What about you, Leah? Have you had that, like, aha, this is joy? Like,
I would say, I'm a fully indulged like mother. Like my children are eat, sleep, breathe. That's us. So I think at the end of the night when we are home from school, we're chilling out, eating dinner, tittle-tattling back and forth with each other. That's my joy. Because I know in this moment, this is what I'm supposed to be here. These are moments I prayed for, to be in this area, this moment with my girls, because some people aren't as fortunate enough to be in those. So this is the joy. This is what brings me joy, is seeing my girls together with their mother, So, like, my kids really is, when most people say their kids save them, hands down. Pulled out of dark spots. Didn't have no choice but to be because of them. People don't really understand that, though. They don't understand it, and they really selfish when it comes to children. And I don't see how, so many things that go left with kids. Like, how did you let this go? How are they not your joy? How does not them being happy not bring you joy? Joy makes me feel like when I'm sitting here and I'm in a daze and you call my name and I'm just smiling. That's my inside working on the outside. Like, my joy is when I'm sitting still in peace in the moment, not focusing on the future or what I came from, but in this moment, this is where I came. This is where I wanted to be.
I'm so beautiful.
Stop it.
What about you, Coffee?
It's the same. Like my kids and also my craft. I feel like we really are the champions, the gods of our creations, and so everything that I can, like being creative, period, is my joy. It really is because like I created my kids. I'm creative with the way that I raised them. You know what I'm saying? I think outside the box, and then they continually get to see me create in all these different kind of ways. And so I'm literally like chiseling down so many ceilings and so many things just from the barriers of their minds, because you can only dream within the parameters of, most people can only dream within the parameters of things that they have seen with their own eyes. So I want to give them every single vision they could possibly have, and sometimes it's everything kind of requires a sacrifice to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, it's like I know they understand, and I can see what they see based on how they act. I pay attention to them. I ask them questions, and then it's the active practice. I feel like I'm raising myself. Like I'm not raising my kids. We're raising each other. You know what I'm saying? And I can give them things that I had to wait until I was 29 to learn.
Yes.
And I can show them and give them keys way before they get to even get a chance to experience half of the stuff that I went through. And that is, people talk about generational curses all the time, but I can hold my hands open like a potter and feel myself molding generational blessings. That's literally where all of my joy comes from. It does, and so in the process, there is no day where I can be 100% productive or 100% happy or 100% nourished. You know what I'm saying? But they have 100% of whatever percent I'm at. So and by knowing that everything I do is setting an example for them, my dreams and goals have the same energy behind them. They allow me to be really self-motivated. You know what I'm saying? And I know like the shit that I just be constantly building. And it's like I can see a whole clear path that I want to take them on. Yeah. They kind of leading the way, you know what I'm saying? And even my life. So definitely my kids, and even in raising them, it's trials all up and down. Yeah. Man, and then I recently took on, my niece, and she's 16. I'm 29. I feel like, what am I doing? What? Sometimes why? But I know I was saying, because I was talking to Leah earlier, and I was like, I think about it like, I'm doing it for her, but in reality, I'm doing it for God. Like generational curses, like I said, I'm just breaking them and rebuilding something totally new. Yeah.
You're living a life that says thank you. You get that he has blessed you.
That's
you
beautiful.
Get that he has just poured so much of his love into you. And out of gratitude for that, you're just giving it away. It's just a great big shout of thank you.
And it's so immediately reciprocal. I feel like I'm moving at the speed of light. Like I look around myself, and sometimes I feel, discouraged and disheartened. We all do. But I'm like, they really are fine. Like everybody really is fine. Wow. Like it could be so much worse.
This works. What you're doing is working.
Yeah. So when we talk about messes and impacts, like if you want to make an impact, you're gonna have to make some collisions. Like you're gonna have to hit something. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So I just want to reiterate, edify that that's a part of the process. Any type of growth is gonna be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think that human behavior, like we want to avoid the pain. We're not driving head first into a mess on purpose, right? Like we're swerving around it, trying to avoid it. And yet when we look back on the times that we grew the most, we learned and we experienced stuff that shapes us into who we are, it's because of those collisions. Mm-hmm. It's because of those messes. Mm-hmm. So it really needs to become about okay, then if I'm going to have this happen, how can I embrace this stuff? Not try to avoid it, but find the joy in it. What's the good? What's the takeaway? What's the blessing?
So do you force it? Are you feeling like you're forcing the joy?
No, you're just actively expecting it. You're just embracing it along the way. It's there, you know.
If you tune up to it.
Oh, it's
and we
there.
all, we all are wavelengths for sure. And it sounds like juju, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you have to tune up and set your tune to the proper frequencies and these kind of things. But it's true. If you are looking for the mess, you are not going to ever see the joy. And it just really go like that, you know? Yeah.
I think it's a matter of what do we expect, you know? If we expect that life is really going to be hard and sucky, it's going to be hard and sucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then value, like, a lot of people have, like, money issues because they cannot ascertain what value actually is. And I brought that up because when we talk about grace and joy, there's so much value in those things. They are their own currency, like that kindness, joy, mercy. These things have their own frequency, just like hate and jealousy and all of those things do. You know what I'm saying? So they are a currency. They are a form of currency. And I don't think people really look at it like that. So if you have like a tumultuous relationship with kindness, you probably gonna have a tumultuous relationship with money. If you are codependent, then you probably gonna have a tumultuous relationship with money because you will not be able to feel okay if you don't have it. You know, and so while I'm gaining this like spiritual kind of ethical almost education on how to communicate and operate with people, it's money and diet and all of these things are being thrown in that basket too. You personify, or at least not, I wouldn't say personified, but you like visualized like messy joy in the book when you were like, oh, after every puddle I take my dog out and after every storm, you know what I'm saying, take my dog out, we look for puddles, we jump in them.
Yep.
Kind of situation like you are on the cover. And that's like a literal visual representation, like immediately visual representation of messy joy. Yeah. Is that why you do that? It's like on purpose?
I mean, those puddles.
I want to see the mess of my joy.
Right. I mean, those puddles are waiting to be jumped in, and we swerve around them. And yet, what if we stopped and just played for a second?
Romanticism. In relationships, romanticism can be a negative thing. When you're dealing with people, you don't want to romanticize their intentions. You don't want to do anything with other people's intentions. You just want to let them have them. You know what I'm saying? Just like and experience it and then trust how you feel. That's all you really need to do. What was I saying? Yes, like, okay, so when you try to interpret the intentions of others, you like muddy the waters. That's something that you should never do. Or but when you are dealing with something that is not like a person, you know what I'm saying? When you're dealing with like grass or rain or puddles of mud, you get to interpret the intention of that. You get to put your intention on that and own that. You know what I'm saying? That's something that you have the luxury of doing with life that you shouldn't do. So you should romanticize life. Like when I go outside and I look up at the sky, I'll be in tears sometimes. God is so good to me. Look at this. Like, what did I ever do to deserve this? It's so beautiful. And it's so simple, but it is, I feel like sometimes I go through like a practice, especially when I'm outside, like experiencing like bugs and grass and stuff like that. I just forget that I'd experienced any of this before and just approach it like I've never seen it before. Like, oh my God, it has legs and wings. Look.
But like, you're right. There's wonder in it. Yeah. What if that were normal and we just approach things with that childlike wonder? Can you imagine? Joy would just be abundant. I mean, if you just took that one nugget and thought about, what God created and all that went into it, and the fact that we get to see it and be
I'm about to cry.
seriously, it's incredible. And yet we're just like so busy going through the motions. But man, when we slow down and just really absorb that and appreciate it, there's so much wonder in it. One time years ago, I was a youth pastor, and we took all of our kids in our church out to this massive Christian rock concert. It was down in the middle of Ohio. And we road tripped down. We rented this huge farm, and we all stayed there. It was super fun. And we thought that the God experience was going to be at the concert, and it was. It was amazing. But the kids still talk today about the day after, because we went out into the pasture and along the river and in the woods, and I had them split up completely and not speak to anyone or anything for a full hour. Just look at what's in front of you. Let God speak to you. Take it in. Just get lost in the wonder of whatever it is. And when we got back to the farm and began to learn from the kids about what God did in that 1 hour, it was mind-blowing. They were freaked out at the beginning. They hated it. They wanted to use their phones and stuff. But when they got over that need, they just received. And oh my gosh, there was so much to receive. And they still talk about it. That was probably 8 years ago. So yeah, wonder is an incredible source of joy.
Yeah. How do you find time for nature or wonder, or do you want to, or
You know, I always think back, like, if there was a time where we had to go back to being like in
Simple.
nature,
Mm-hmm.
how the heck would I survive? Because I'm all like, okay, the bugs are cute there, but that one bites. That one stings. Oh, that one flies. Watch out for the poop. You know, I'm all that. I'm like that timid, but I kid you not, I go outside every morning and listen to the birds. Listening to the birds is so peaceful. Now that's something that brings me joy.
Love it.
Listening to the birds and being able to identify which birds. Sometimes I can hear the cardinal sing. I can hear a blue jay sing. I can hear a mourning dove. Like it's in the mornings it's just so. But that ever have to going back to the nature part.
Simple time. I literally be praying for simpler times.
I would love to be it, but we've been so. I'm guilty of it. We've been so modernized, that.
I bet you if it disappeared tomorrow, you'd be straight.
I'm pretty sure.
You'd be all right.
But the bugs.
Just stick to the birds.
They can stay where they at.
And the wild vicious
But you know
animals.
what? There are natural remedies for bugs.
You know, peppermint.
To keep them away, okay? All types of things you don't want.
But Leah, when you were talking about the birds, your face changed.
Yeah.
I could see
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it runs deep in you. There's no
Lit up.
question. Yeah.
I was surprised. I'm surprised to know you know the tones of the birds, because I could really never.
Really?
No.
That's how much I love to do it. I love it, especially in the summertime when it's a nice summer day. I know people be like, "Why are you going outside in your socks and on your shoes and without your shoes on?" It feels good, even regardless if you're into it or not. It feels good to have the grass in your feet. Just listening to it, just let the sun beam, listen to the birds. That is the best thing to do early in the morning in the summer.
You know, it's a word for that, grounding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, and I've heard whispers like from my neighbors and stuff, like me and my kids would be outside barefoot. Oh, they get out, all right.
No, it's not that.
Get it how you live, but we gonna touch some grass. Like I don't.
I had a heck of a grounding experience. Do you want to hear about it?
For sure.
This is related to TEDx Detroit. So I had applied to speak, and I wasn't chosen, and it wasn't what I expected. For different reasons. And I didn't take it well. I really had a hard time with it. I thought that God was preparing me to have this experience, and when it didn't happen, I had a lot of questions. And so I kind of wrestled with it. I posted about it on social media. I'm pretty open about stuff because I feel like I'm a lot like you. You know, if I'm thinking it, someone else must be thinking it. Let's talk. So I posted that I was struggling. And after I kind of got that out, and it was just pouring down rain this day. And my dog is a golden doodle, and she like loves to play ball. Doesn't matter what the weather. So it was pouring rain, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm over the whole TEDx. I gotta move on. I'm gonna go out in the rain with my dog. We're gonna play ball. So we went out, and I mean, it's just pouring down buckets. And I realized what I really want to feel like me is to just lay down in this grass, soaking wet, and just let the rain pound the crap out of my whole being. Just let it just take over. I want to feel every single raindrop. So I'm laying there on the grass, middle of the day. I have to wonder what the neighbors were thinking. And I kind of started doing like snow angels, in the grass, and all this rain just beating me up. And I turn around and my dog is sitting under a tree, completely covered, just looking at me. I have to wonder what she was thinking. But my whole body was grounded, and I felt like me again. It was just a choice. I think sometimes you're just like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to soak it up.
And it's restorative.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like skipping. I kind of did actually skip after that. And then I posted about that.
It's hard staying grounded and staying like connected to source and staying in like my meditation bag with social media. I'm just being honest. Like every day I wake up and I in my mind I'm like I have this routine. Acknowledge God. Nurture myself. Meditate for a minute. But if I don't catch it, the phone will become before especially if I set an alarm. Like I hate alarms, but I always got something to do. But if I set an alarm, and so immediately the first thing I do when I wake up is now I'm turning my alarm off. Boom, my phone is right in my hand. Yeah. So I'm going to like habitually check my whatever common social media pages I'm on. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I had a couple conversations yesterday that were not that I kind of were left kind of, you know what I'm saying, or whatever reason. But it's just like. Because you mentioned like, I posted about this and I posted about that, and I make a effort of like posting, not everything that I think, but the things that I know people kind of can relate to, like the show. You know what I'm saying? Like, because there are some parts of you that are just only for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And a boundary is not the same thing as a mask. Like, you know what I'm saying? The world will condition us to put these masks on, and you'll wear them for a while, but like when you finally take them off, sometimes you'll feel like, oh, I got to be all of this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because you finally accept it. But boundaries are necessary. Everybody does not deserve every single part of you. Yeah. So that's a hard thing to conjure with social media because everybody's sharing everything from they open mouth to they open ass. Like it's everywhere. So it's like sometimes I feel like I'm overwhelming my audience, and then I feel like I'm not doing enough, and then I feel like I ain't got no goddamn audience. Who do you think you are? But it's like how do you find peace and joy and hold on to it when this thing is just like literally in your face all day, and it's filled with everybody else's opinions about everything. And now you got the advent of the social media therapist and the social media boyfriend, and you know what I'm saying, and the social media preacher. And I'm just like, no, but for real, just shut up.
No, for real.
No, for real. And then I'd be like, am I talking too much?
Let me go back and delete that real quick.
Right. It never happened.
Let me go put myself on the timeout because this is absurd.
Have you ever shared something where you feel like, oh, I'm oversharing?
Oh yeah, it's risky. It's risky for sure. I'm cautious about stuff. I mean, if you read the book, you'll see in the first chapter. I mean, it took me a long time to
actually get it out.
Yeah, it was hard. I would share the good stuff just to pick people up, but they didn't know that there was a whole lot of garbage that wasn't being shared. And I still don't. I mean, to write that book was horrifying to me. It was so scary.
I can tell.
Oh man. And you
literally had to pull it out of yourself.
Yeah, I did. And if you read it, you'll see. I mean, it was literally an act of obedience to God. When God spoke to my daughter and said, "You need to write this book," and she told me that He said that. Okay, like wow, that is not my plan at all.
You never thought about being an author? That wasn't even
in
your
kidding?
purview?
I have no business writing a book. I have a stack of books next to my bed that make me fall asleep. But it's like the stack of death. Like I can't get through a book because they just knock me out. And so why would I write a book? I have no
I get
ability.
it.
Yeah, what right do I have? But yeah.
I said it recently. Like if you're not reading, you probably shouldn't be writing.
I heard you say that. Yeah. I was like, oh shoot. I can read a good romance novel, but all the other stuff knocks me out.
I just it's for me. That's one of the major things. The most bountiful lessons I have ever learned come from friends and books, like from conversation and good books. I really can't get enough of it, you know. And that's not to say because I have some books that are just like, you know what, and you try to pick it up again, and I'll be like, I must have gotten what I needed from it. So
Recycle
it. Right, you recycle it. Or the good ones. The good ones are actually the ones I recycle. True Love by Thich Nhat Hanh. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. Fight me. I said True Love. 4 Agreements. I forget who that one's by. But the 4 Agreements are basically be impeccable with your word, which means, and I tell my kids this, lying makes you weak. You know what I'm saying? Honesty is the best and literally only way to communicate. So be impeccable with your word. Pretty much don't say nothing if you don't mean it. Don't take anything personally, which is like the way I interpret that. I'm going to go back to my kids. I say like, you know, just because you feel bad does not give you the right to act badly. You know what I'm saying? You're responsible for the way you feel. And if you took something personal that someone else is doing or saying, then you're at that point, you took it personal. It's your business now. You're responsible for it. You know, that don't mean you get to act a fool because you felt bad. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean you don't get consequences because you felt bad and then did something bad. Like, no, you still have a consequence for that. Even if it's something simple as, oh, nobody wants to be your friend right now, which is something that's very important to kids. You know what I'm saying? But they don't, and then they take the, oh, they don't like me, they bullying me approach instead of like, okay, but did I scare them away? What did I do? And it's not a self-blame thing, but it's an accountability thing, which is so very important to me right now. But yeah, it says be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personal. What was the last two? I can't remember. I'm gonna look them up. Hold on.
So I think the you say accountability that goes hand in hand with me with grace. I went through a very emotional, spiritual. I went through a really hard time where I had no choice but to keep going, and part of that made me have to take accountability for what I did and however it played out. But I also had to give myself grace because I was ignorant to a lot of things at that time. I didn't know a lot. You know, I thought, you know, you've been this way this so long, this is how you're going to keep getting fur, you know. So with that being how old I am now and learning from that, I had to give myself grace for the fact that, you know, you ain't know no better.
How do you define grace?
Grace would be, I'll give you an example. So my oldest daughter is 6. Her father is deceased. And we were the best of friends before she even came along. So when he passed, that was the switch for me to be, I was always this, I can't really explain it. I was really a completely different attitude, outlook-wise. I was blinded, I'll say that. And that loss made me take accountability in what, you know, led up to said events. And then it made me look back like, hey, you got to give yourself grace, take accountability for it, and push forward because look at this little girl here. She doesn't have a father now. So now grace yourself. She needs both you and him, and he's not here in the physical. So you've got to do it. You've got to give yourself grace. And then she knows no better. So if you're taking frustrations out on the little one, you know, she doesn't know any better. She's trying to figure out just like you are, you know. So that to me had me, grace is really like my yellow light, like my slow down. Like, okay, this is the moment you're in. Soak your feet in it a little bit and let's slow down and absorb what moment we're in right now. So for the moment, the night I got that call, and it didn't really set in until the viewing. That was the day that really, it sealed in because it's like, oh, snap. This is somebody you never thought you would see in this circumstance, you know? So it's like, okay, hold on, wait a minute. Now you might want to go where he's with, you know, you want to go figure some things out, but wait a minute, what is the child going to do back here? You know, so now teach whatever he was lacking, whatever you were lacking as a child. That's your responsibility, all hands now, to teach your child going forward. You know, fill in those bridges that weren't filled in.
Stand in them gaps.
Yeah,
And you don't know. Like, it's right for me, I know sometimes I just feel like I'm trying to be something I've never been before. So not only have I never been it, I've never seen it be done. So you got to have a certain level of grace for that amount of just blindness. Yeah. I like that. I wrote it down.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard it put like that before.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
It was. Yeah.
The other two agreements were
that is so sick that wallpaper is on your phone.
I know, right?
Can you show that to Rob?
What is
yeah,
it?
I will. Hold on. It was do not make assumptions and always do your best. So always do your best goes back to the value conversation. If I know that I show up and, like I said, whatever percent I'm on, I'm 100% of that percent, then I'm gonna expect 100% of that percent back. It don't necessarily have to come from a person, but I know it's coming back. Okay, so this picture. Oh, speaking of grace, that's a good segue to grace for sure. This was us when we were in high school.
That's so cute.
That was like sophomore, junior summer
look
going
at
into
those
senior
faces.
year.
Yeah, it was
Just a couple
crazy.
kids.
And I look at myself, and I remember how I felt about myself at this time, and I thought that I was, just like nerdy and ugly and fat and all of these different things, and I had problems with my hair, I had problems with my skin complexion. I was all over the place as far as just not having no grace for myself whatsoever, and holding myself accountable to every single thing that somebody tried to put on me. It really turned me into a person where I felt like I had played so many roles. I had no idea who I actually was, like literally none. And this is something that I'm steady discovering that I didn't even factor in discovering until I was like 25. Like, oh wait, but you don't want none of this shit. What you doing here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Really, like, check yourself. But I lost a lot of grace for myself as a child in a lot of different stages of my childhood. So now in my adulthood, and that's why that's my screensaver. At first, it was a very much younger version of me on my screensaver. But every day when I open my phone up, I look at her and I just love her. It's just like, I love you. Look at how beautiful you really were. If only. And then I know time is not linear. So it's like, it's not really if only. I get to go back into that child version of myself and look at myself in the mirror and see beauty and capability and all the things that I have done, all the things that I went through, did not stop any of that. So it's like, I just imagine what it would be like to have this amount of knowledge and confidence and gracefulness and things at that age. And I take everything that she wanted to do and thought she could do, and I stand up in it today. And I'm like, no, not only have you done most of that, but you can do the rest of it. You can do all of that. Look at it. Like, the evidence is there. The witnesses are there. Like, conviction, you know what I'm saying? It's and that allows, conviction is also something that allows me to continue to have joy and grace. Because it's like, when I think like, oh, a lot of times we look at the road ahead and we think, oh, I got so far to go. But I don't want to turn into a pillar of salt. But I do remind myself of how far I've come. There are so many different things that I could still be stuck in that I'm just literally not.
Yeah. When you said that about, how you can still be pouring into that girl today. And, I was thinking about grace in terms of how quickly we offer it to people that we love. Oh, it's okay. I know you didn't mean to do that. I'll give you another chance. Or, we're so quick to offer forgiveness and encouragement. And yet when we fail, when we don't, succeed in whatever standard we've set for ourselves, we beat ourselves up. We're so hard on ourselves. And yet, like, if we were to think about, okay, if I'm going to take the same grace and offer it to the little girl that is in my care, in your case, you're both moms, and I mean, I'm sure you're just pouring grace out to your kids. If you can see yourself, you know, the way that you see your kids and offer that same grace back to yourself. It's beautiful when you're willing to do that.
It's like raising yourself.
It is. It's like parenting 2.0, you know? And when we get that, I think that the people around us start to notice that there's something different, you know? They're like, wow, you're not the same. You're not as hard on yourself. You're more easygoing. You're more fun to be around. You're a light to me now, you know? And I think when we're comfortable with ourselves and we give ourselves the same grace that we give the young people in our lives, it just improves so many aspects of our life and the lives of the people that
are
we
closest
with.
to us.
Yeah.
And then the people around you change.
Yeah.
Like it went from, for me, it went from chaos and confusion to nothing to roots and flowers and trees. And I'm just looking around me and I'm like,
Yeah.
I have a ground to stand on.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that I didn't even know I was missing, let alone was possible. But that came out of the grace, the trust in myself. Like, you know, once you survived so many different things, it's like you cannot deny you a survivor. So it's like whatever is coming, it's just it's really beautiful when you think about it. It's really like, sometimes I'd be like in tears with how just it's like a symphony, like you know, of life. That's just like, wow. Damn.
Amen.
I really lived. Okay, so Leo, so when you what are some steps, if any, did you take intentionally or maybe subconsciously that led you to grace, joy for yourself and for your children and these kind of things?
Patience. Patience was one of the main things I had to grab it just a little bit, because I was always wanting to rush my outcome, and I knew I knew things didn't work how it operated in my mind. I thought it should be done. That's how I think.
No, but for so long.
That's I thought like that for so long, but being put in a spot where I had to be patient and I had to give myself grace. I had to get to where I know I need to be. So like, learning patience was definitely the one thing. Having kids definitely pushed that on me. I know y'all.
Set it right in your lap, literally. Put it on your tit.
Literally. Right there. Yeah, and then being able to interact with different people, knowing different energies, personalities, knowing like, okay, this person must act this way because, you know, I'm nice to them, but they're nasty to me. Okay, someone is not pouring into them. Like, you know, and it took for me not to be able to, because I worked with people. Most of my whole work career is working with people. I had to learn how to not take that personal. I had to put a barrier between that. So it was doing that.
Which is patience on another level. Yeah.
For sure. So that with patience, and then up until now, like, I'm thinking like doing things I never thought I'd do, you know. Even as a little girl, simple things, crazy thoughts, right? Like going to work and having my own place and paying my own
like
bills.
what?
Like crazy stuff, like taking care of my
God.
kids. Like I thought about all this stuff as a kid, but now it's like, why the but I'm here. I'm so thankful for that, you know? Like
Yeah.
So I understand that.
Whose idea?
What in the world did I sign up for? Because you know we pick our parents before we get here.
Oh my God, yes.
What did I sign up for? Help me. But no, listen, I really think we were saying earlier about the Christ, we have to go through these collisions in life to pretty much excel. I really believe that collision in my life was losing someone so detrimental to our to our growth is what really flipped that switch on for me. So it's like, all right, you got to stop taking things so personal. Be able to look at the outside. Be able to be on the outside, looking at the outside. Stop taking it outside and putting it on your inside, because now you taking all these other demons people got carrying with them. They're trying to spew out into you, and you're trying to excel in your life, and you can't do it because you got that right there in the back of your head telling you can't, and that's not even yours to bury. To bury. So Yeah. But a lot of not taking things personal, being patient, and honestly smiling more. People don't understand, even if you're not having a good day. That smile, I promise you, even
it goes so far.
it does something to like.
It's disarming.
Yeah.
It warms the energy around you. I remember being younger and people be like, "What you smiling for?" I had no idea. I'm happy. Like you know what I'm saying. And if I wasn't, hey, it don't hurt. You know what I'm saying?
And it's so contagious.
And it's so contagious. And being in customer service, like especially you learn like that's one of the quickest and easiest way to just disarm somebody.
It's a smile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. And it's universal, right? Like
right.
You could be from totally different parts of the world, speak different languages, but yeah, that we get that. You know, you look somebody in the eye and smile and the other person knows exactly what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also hits deeper too because being a kid, you know, sometimes you get bullied about certain little things. Oh, you got ugly teeth, little crazy stuff kids say. And you would think smiling would be a defense mechanism. Like, you know, it kind of made me, in a way, feel that way as a kid. Like, you were always teased about things like that. So just keep your mouth closed. If you want to open them up, that's to get people to stay away from you. But now, here it is. Now, I was brain stained, should I say, back then. But now that I'm older, regardless of what a smile looks like, it goes so far. Like, it goes further than you could ever imagine. Somebody could have the worst day possible, and the smile from the strangers of strangers could just be like, oh, okay, I have nothing to be mad about, you know?
I think when you think about it on the other end, it's like, imagine if a wolf walked up to you and smiled. You would be frightened.
That'd be shocking.
So I take it kind of both ways because, wow, I may feel warm-hearted or whatever, but if you intimidated by me, I just showed you all my teeth. So don't play with me.
Well said.
So it's like it kind of go both ways, and it depends on the person who's taking it. Either way, you disarmed.
That's true.
Put your guard down. Yeah, but and I think the duality, understanding like the duality kind of life helps me feel more grounded and more graceful and more joyful because like none of this is just one thing. Like balance is always necessary. So, and there's no real license on what's good and what's bad. Perspective is the majority for most people. And as we get further and further into like media and this kind of thing, morality and these kind of things even have a sliding scale, which I'm not up for. You got to stand up at some point. You got to really stand up for something. And if it can be bought or, you know what I'm saying, changed by public opinion, then you're not standing up. Some things I just do not kind of falter on. But, you know, balance is the majority. So a lot of times we talk about masculinity and femininity and all these other different things as if just because I came with a specific type of body that only this one version of thing can exist in me. And that's not reality in any way, shape, or form. That's not God. That's not the earth. You know what I'm saying? The earth is not just roses and trees and butterflies. It's hurricanes and tornadoes and you know what I'm saying? All types of stuff. So we can only expect that we are only going to be able to give at least that much, you know?
Wow. For me, I think grace has really just been what I've received from the Lord. You know, if I think about what I deserve versus what I've been given, it's all grace. You know, I hear so many people say, oh, I don't understand, like, why a good person had to die young, you know, why bad things have to happen to good people. And I just think to myself, if we got what we really did deserve, would we want that anyway?
No, man.
You know, I mean, the grace that we are given, the fact that we get to keep breathing and we get to experience life in all of its fullness, and we get how many new chances to get it right, you know, to learn and grow
Every day.
Like
Ain't that crazy?
There was an older man from our church. He's passed on now, but he used to say, you know, dear Lord of new beginnings and second chances, here I am again. And it's like, man, that's my story. And as many times as I go back, crawling and apologizing,
It's just like
I get grace. I get that big hello, that big
yes,
hug.
we try to be that for our babies, but I've had people show up in my life lately that have been that for me, and it just allows me to feel so soft and so precious, you know, in a way that I feel like I've never really experienced before.
Wow.
Like, I don't have to be perfect.
I'm so glad you've received that.
Yeah, I prayed for it, and God really don't let me down. Like,
Can you name a time that he did?
Not for real.
Not saying that
He really don't be playing.
I'm so glad you've received that.
Yeah. As women, especially, and as mothers, I know that it is easy to feel like an island.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to be overwhelmed. It's easy to be angry. It's easy. You have every right. Mm-hmm. You have every right to be sad and bewildered and sleepy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, be that. I feel like that's what grace is. If I'm approaching like because I have bipolar, so at this point I know, like, you know what I'm saying. Hey ho, eventually I'm going to swing one way or the other, you know, and accepting that. First of all, I had to learn it, right? Because before it was like, something's wrong with me, something's wrong with me, something's wrong with me, and then it was like, well, you have this, and I was like, well, nothing's wrong with me, I just have this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so it's the learning, but it's like, it went from, if I got to sit on the couch for 2 weeks to be okay, I'm going to sit on the couch for 2 weeks. And then it went from that to, you don't deserve to sit on the couch for 2 weeks. And then it went from that to work from the couch. And then it went from that to do it manic. Do it depressed. Just get up and leave the house. You did it. Look, you know, and it just slowly started to change. But first I had to give myself the okay to be depressed. Like, you know, and I was looking at this meme the other day, and somebody was like, next time your girl yelling at you, just tell her, yes, feel that rage. Embrace that hatred. And I was like, do you know how quickly I would calm down? If somebody gave me permission to be angry,
yes,
I would calm down immediately. You're right. Yeah. I do deserve to be angry.
Yes. That validation is great.
Man.
Yes.
Especially as women, especially as mothers, you can barely, especially nowadays, you can't be upset with your kids. You can't yell at them. You can't spank them. You can't take nothing from them. It's like, oh, kids are messy. Kids are loud. Why are you mad? I haven't been asleep in 14 hours. Like, get a fucking grip. Somebody better get a grip. Somebody really better get a grip in here. I start gripping shit that ain't supposed to be gripped. Yeah, a big part of grace is allowing myself, because it's like I said, happiness, all of these other emotions, they so fleeting. Like, I'm like, you know, it'll change. It'll change pretty quick too. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it's also allowing myself to let it change. Our bodies be on autopilot. So, and that's literally like, it's almost in a circadian rhythm, like the same way our sleep patterns operate. Like, if you wake up and the last thing you experienced before you went to bed was like worry or dread or stress or, you know, or even joy, when you wake up the next morning, your body is on autopilot. After you come out of your fog, it's going to go right back into whatever the last and biggest. Sometimes it's not the very last. Sometimes it's just the biggest emotion you felt for the day. So if you live in a state of fight or flight, which most of us are, just extremely traumatized, and our amygdala is huge, and we live in this constant state of overworking those energies, fight or flight. So when you wake up the next day, you automatically in fight or flight, and you know how many people spend years that way, to the point where they don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. They not being traumatized no more, but their body still triggered to feel like that every time they wake up. We all do that, and it was coming across that information is what allowed me to kind of change it. So it's like, okay, before I go to sleep, I'm praying. Because, like I said in the car earlier, like, don't worry, just pray. Because the worrying does literally nothing. Literally nothing. It interferes with joy and grace in such crazy ways. And it's not easy to, I'm not saying like, oh, I got to figure it out, I fixed it. I did not. Because if I don't panic, it won't get done. Yeah. And that's the grace part, because underneath that panic, my subconscious is telling me, you know, God got it right. Yes. But
if this was on video, you'd see Leah jump.
I be trying not to do that while we driving.
No, she did that one time. It almost sent me into the side. We were on, what freeway was we on, Amber?
I don't know. I called you to TEDx, and I was trying to get my shit together, and then I was just like, and she was like, where are we going?
We would have been on the side of the freeway. I would have pulled over and just halted all action, because why? Why would you scare me like that? I was terrified. Like, what is it? Is there something coming? What do you see?
Me, I'm coming.
Whole time,
You're lucky to be alive.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
For so many reasons. Oh
my God.
Get me to this building. Sit me down, in a steel seat.
Sometimes you just gotta come out. But that's significant that I feel safe around you.
Yes.
Because I swear, with some other people, I would have choked on that. We would have got there and
yes.
I'm like,
okay, just get it out, because I know we on our way to TEDx, but come on now, for real. We still got to get there, though.
And you got there.
And we got there.
And you had a ball.
We got there.
And you nailed it. You did such a beautiful job.
Thank you.
You're
and you did
welcome.
too. I felt
Thank
so much
you.
reciprocity just in the room, period. A lot of the speakers that went up. Q,
Yep.
what's her name? Dina.
Dina Carter?
The one who had her mom on the stage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I
Her
can't think of her
and
name.
T-Barb. I was
Yeah.
like, these are my stories.
Yeah.
It was so amazing to hear them kind of play back from that. And then the awesome connections that I made from just walking around, and then the audience,
Yes.
like people who I didn't even get to meet, like,
yeah.
followed me, and we were building like relationships.
Isn't it great?
It was really great. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna hold you up. Yeah, it's definitely one of them top 10 memorable experiences. I feel like my bucket is getting lighter, so I'm just like not running around really, but every time I find something that's like, okay, bucket. Like, just put something nice in the bucket, just keep filling it up. Just keep pouring out. We're going to keep filling it up.
That's the point.
What about you, Leah? What's in your bucket?
I want to be, I don't know. It's so much. It's so much I didn't put into my bucket for the end of this year, this upcoming year. I definitely want to be more in front of the camera, though. That's something that I actually did a photo shoot with a vendor from the TEDx.
Yeah. Was it
1701?
1701
Kid Renaissance. He has
Yes.
a clothing line. Yeah, shout out to him too.
Mm-hmm.
I did a photo shoot with him, and
T.
again, the T. Yep. This is my first time doing something like that, and again, like being on a podcast, this is such eye opening with all of you, and then being in front of that camera, like. And you have somebody directing, like, pose like this, put your head down, like, put your hand on this.
It worked
shoulder.
on it, though.
And
It released them jitters, don't it, a
It
little
did,
bit? Yeah.
though, and then it helped so much because I had a supporting, the other models over there that were supportive, too, that were so welcoming. So I'm like, she's like, girl, you got this, go ahead. And I'm like, okay. So, yeah, that's something, yeah, for sure. Hopefully when he gets done editing them and he posts them on his website, Instagram, sorry, on there.
So is that something you took out of your bucket, or is that something like?
That's something I actually took out of my bucket. I took that out of my bucket.
Nice.
As growing into I am.
Now it's something you can stand on and build up.
No, seriously.
Yes.
I've been growing and healing myself as an adult, my inner kid. Like going to things I've never been to, Disney on Ice and stuff like that with my kids. I'm healing my inner kid and experiencing it with them too. So like as of lately I've been doing that, and one of those pieces I'm bringing out my bucket was being on a model in a photo, and now here I am in front of a camera with you lovely ladies. And I'm just so next would be, I don't know,
New Everest.
Listen, I don't even want to count what's in the bucket because I might be surprised at what I pull out.
Right. And you gotta let God fill your bucket up, because it never empties, and sometimes I have no idea what's in there, and then I pull something out and I'm like,
I did say that. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Look at what came out of my bucket.
Yeah. And it's just like stuff you deposited in there when you were like 5 years old. Like,
yeah.
So I'm excited to see.
Yay. What about you, Robin? You already doing so much, but what's in your bucket?
I think the thing that fills me up the most is just getting to know people, like getting to hear their stories. There's just so much joy and connection. Sure. Like we talked earlier about unity and just realizing we're a lot more alike than we are different, and the differences are beautiful and worthy of celebrating and recognizing. I don't know. I just feel like I want to know more people that are wherever, just want to meet them, hear their stories, find out what makes them tick, what fills their buckets. It fills mine when I hear about theirs. So every time I travel to speak, like half of the joy is just who I'm going to run into in the airport or who's going to be in the audience that shares afterward. You just don't know how you're going to feel connected to a stranger, and you don't forget that. You know, I might forget like the moments on stage, but those conversations after, I remember every single one of them.
Random friends, like
right,
you,
right,
like how
exactly.
you got here. Yes,
That's right.
Yeah, random friends. That's definitely a good thing to put in the bucket. My bucket is, like I said, it's constantly being revamped and reiterated, and at this point, I don't think I've dreamed something. Well, yes, I've dreamed things that I haven't woken up in yet, but I've woken up in so many things that I've dreamed till it's like I'm just waiting to wake up in the rest of them. I really don't see like limits. Yeah. It's different.
That is different.
Yeah.
It sounds like a new space.
It is, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to look around myself, and that's the biggest part of it. I was in tears yesterday, like, oh my God. Every time I turn around, there is somebody that loves me. Every time I do something, I love it. I think that's the foundation of all of this, really. You know, love. And they say, oh, God is love. And people don't really understand what that means because they have these contrived, contorted ideas of what love is as a thought and a process, as an action. But it's so raw and regular and real and just really actually very easy to do to make room and be soft. And the more I do that for other people, the more I feel like that myself. Forgiveness is, I'm looking for reasons all the time to forgive a little bit more, because it feels so good. Just you never know, you never realize how much you carrying for real, because you refuse to let shit go.
Yep. And then when you let it go and you realize the burden, you're like, oh my gosh,
now I belong to me.
Yes.
The collective yes was great. First of all, I could not have asked y'all to do that. That was awesome. Okay, I think that we running up on time. I could literally have this conversation forever, and I couldn't imagine it doing it with literally anybody else. That was so great. Always the right people at Shotcast Network or whatever. I'm Coffee Dark and Sweet. You can find me KOFFEE _ and sweet on any place that you're looking for me. Also, One Crafty Mama 313 if you want some goodies or some gadgets, and Energetic Investments if you're looking for a community outreach organization that uses art as means to facilitate healing and stimulate the local economy. Leah, where can we find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram at LAI4 FOR me _ if you want to get some good laughs or a little something here and there. Yep, that's me. Lay for me _
And Robin, where can we find you?
You can find me on all social media at Joy Coach Robin. It's all the same, Joy Coach Robin. My website is robinshear.com.
Shear, SHEAR. And where can we find your book, though?
Thank you. Messy Joy is available on Amazon.
Perfect.
And all the other places, but yeah, Amazon.
Thank y'all for staying the night with me. Coffee out. That was great. This is why I do this.
You're meant to do this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sincere.
I feel it at home.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like super hypercritical of myself.
You was like, what you saying on here? I said, I'm not really nervous. You was like, you should be. You should be, but that's funny. You're right. But you're like, you literally just flow.
Yeah, you just make it easy.
Just flow.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm sitting up there going, did I say that right? Should I retake, edit, cut that out? Let's take that again.
Don't overthink it. You did great,
Yeah,
and you almost had me in tears. I'm like, where's the poet coming from? I think we had this conversation before.
We did.
I love when the poets just come out of people. Like, everybody got one in there.
Yeah. I'm sitting here listening to you girls and thinking, man, your kids are so blessed to have you guys as moms. Like, you're learning and giving. They're gonna have wonderful lives.
For real.
Yeah.
I feel that. Thank you.
It's true. Yeah.
Just as your babies are blessed to have you.
I love them and I like them. So that's why I said that.
Yes, you gotta like
them. I
People
tell them
don't
all
like
the time.
kids or their kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I tell them all the time, if you weren't mine, I'd be wishing that you were. Like, I want to be around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thanks, girls.
Thank you so much
That
for
was so
coming.
fun. I'll post a picture.
Yes. And don't